The night split open with the slam of a door, echoing like thunder through the mansion's empty halls. Naomi whispered to herself, 3 years of silence, 3 years of untouched vows. Her chest heaved as tears slid down her cheeks, her trembling hands clutching her wedding band like a curse that never loosened. Marcus stood in the shadows, his tall frame rigid, his dark eyes burning with secrets he never dared to confess. Naomi said, "Why marry me, only to turn our love into a cage of distance and shame?" Marcus's voice cracked. "I thought I was protecting you." Naomi's laugh was bitter, hollow, protection. "You left me starving for touch, for truth, for you." The air between them quivered with unspoken wounds, each word slicing deeper into the gulf already carved. Naomi said, "I was your wife in name, never in heart." Marcus clenched his fists, his silence louder than any thunderstorm, his gaze torn between guilt and an ache he could no longer bury. Naomi sat in the quiet aftermath, the storm outside whispering secrets through the rattling windows. "I know so why," she whispered. 3 years of emptiness, and tonight I finally see the truth. Her hand pressed against her chest as though holding her shattered heart in place. Marcus's footsteps echoed in the corridor, fading into silence, leaving only her sobs to fill the space. She replayed every night she had begged silently for warmth. Every moment her bed had been a graveyard of dreams. Naomi said, "You buried me alive in this marriage." She closed her eyes, imagining the woman she used to be before his absence hollowed her. The room seemed to pulse with her grief, every corner heavy with unshed tears. Marcus leaned against the hallway wall, shadows swallowing his tall frame. He muttered, "I thought distance was mercy, but it became cruelty." His mind raced with memories of their wedding day, the promises he had hidden behind. He felt Naomi's tears still on his conscience, sharper than any blade. He whispered to himself, "I wanted to shield you from my darkness, but I built a prison instead." His jaw clenched as regret crushed him. For the first time in years, he longed to walk back, but pride anchored his feet. Naomi lay back on the bed, staring at the ceiling as thunder rolled in the distance. She whispered, "I was never chosen, only tolerated." Her voice broke as loneliness pressed down heavier than the storm itself. She thought of the vows he never lived, the promises never touched. Her body ached not just for his embrace, but for recognition, for love that affirmed her existence. Naomi said, "I am more than a name on a paper." Tears blurred her sight until even the ceiling dissolved into emptiness. Marcus returned to his study, the walls lined with cold leather books, the desk drowning in unfinished letters. He poured himself a glass of whiskey, his hand trembling. He muttered, 3 years wasted, and I can't undo the damage." His reflection in the glass seemed like a stranger, a man who once thought silence was love. He clenched the tumbler until his knuckles whitened, whispering Naomi's name like a prayer and a curse. His chest burned with the truth he could no longer deny. He had lost her long before tonight. Morning light crept through the curtains, but Naomi sat unmoved at the vanity, her reflection a stranger she barely recognized. She whispered, "What is love if it leaves me hollow?" Her voice cracked as her fingers traced the untouched perfume bottles lined neatly before her. Memories of laughter once shared now felt like illusions painted on fading walls. Naomi said, "I gave everything to a man who never reached back." Her eyes brimmed with sorrow, yet held a spark of defiance. A knock on the door startled her. Her best friend Lena called, "Naomi, open up, I'm worried about you." Naomi wiped her cheeks quickly and forced a smile into her voice. "I'm fine." But her heart screamed louder than her words. Lena entered, her presence filling the quiet with warmth Naomi thought she had lost. Lena said, "Stop hiding, your pain is written all over your face." Naomi's shoulders collapsed as her friend embraced her. 3 years, Lena, 3 years of silence from him, Naomi confessed, her voice raw. Lena looked into her eyes and replied, "You deserve more than empty nights, you deserve fire, not ashes." Naomi tried to laugh, but it came out as a sob. "How do you hold on to dignity when love turns into a prison?" Lena whispered, by remembering who you are beyond his shadow. Naomi walked with Lena into the kitchen, where the storm outside had left the world washed clean. The smell of fresh coffee rose as Lena said, "Sometimes you carry scars that were never yours to hold." Naomi stared at her cup, tracing the rim with her finger. She replied, "But I vowed to stand beside him, even when he gave me nothing to stand on." Lena touched her shoulder gently. "Standing beside someone doesn't mean erasing yourself." Naomi whispered, "I don't even know who I am without the ache." Lena's eyes softened. "Then it's time to remember." Later that day, Naomi stood before her closet, staring at rows of dresses she had worn for a man who never looked twice. She whispered, "I dressed for his eyes, but he never saw me." She pulled out a red dress, vibrant against her trembling hands. Lena said from the doorway, "That's the Naomi I remember. The woman who turned heads not because of him, but because of her own fire." Naomi smiled faintly, the first spark of herself flickering back. She said, "Maybe I buried her when he buried us." Lena replied, "Then dig her out. Let her breathe." By evening, Naomi sat alone on the balcony, city lights glowing beneath the darkening sky. She whispered, "I thought I was powerless, but maybe silence gave me strength I didn't know I had." The cool breeze brushed against her skin as though reminding her she was still alive. Lena's words echoed in her mind, urging her to reclaim the woman hidden beneath sorrow. Naomi said softly, "If he ever tries to claim me again, he will meet the woman he abandoned, but stronger." For the first time in years, her heart beat not with despair, but with determination. The evening air thickened with unspoken words as Marcus found Naomi on the balcony. His voice was low but sharp. "You sit here dressed for war, Naomi." She didn't turn, her gaze locked on the city below. Naomi said, "War was declared the moment you abandoned our vows." Marcus stepped closer, his presence magnetic yet suffocating. "I did what I thought was right," he said, his jaw tightening. Naomi laughed bitterly. "You confuse neglect with protection." The wind tossed her coils across her face, her eyes flashing as she turned. "Do you even remember the woman you married?" Marcus's silence said more than words ever could. Naomi set the glass down firmly, the sound sharp against the table. "You wanted distance, Marcus, but distance built a grave between us," she said, her tone steady but burning. He took another step closer, his voice shaking. "I was drowning in demons I couldn't show you." Naomi's chest rose sharply, fury laced with heartbreak. "And you let me drown alone instead." Marcus reached out, his hand hovering in the air, but Naomi recoiled before his touch could land. She whispered, "Don't you dare reach for me now." Marcus's voice grew sharper, desperation cracking through. "I stayed away because my love could destroy you." Naomi stepped closer, fire in her voice. "It wasn't your love that destroyed me, Marcus, it was your silence." He swallowed hard, his throat aching with words left unsaid for years. "I thought absence was safety," he admitted. Naomi's laugh cut him like glass. "Safety? Do you know what it feels like to be unseen by the man you love?" The air between them vibrated with years of buried desire and betrayal. Naomi turned sharply, her voice trembling but unbreakable. "You left me untouched for 3 years, Marcus. Do you know what that does to a woman?" Marcus flinched as though struck, his lips parting without sound. "I wanted to claim you every night, but guilt chained me," he finally confessed, his voice barely above a whisper. Naomi's tears glistened, but her chin held high. "Love doesn't live in chains. It breathes in closeness, in trust, in touch. You denied me all of it." Her words shattered the fragile silence like glass underfoot. The storm inside them erupted, no longer containable. Marcus stepped forward, his voice raw. "I still love you, Naomi, more than I can bear." Naomi's breath caught, her defiance colliding with hidden longing. "Then prove it," she whispered, her words trembling like a dare. Their eyes locked, the distance between them shrinking yet still insurmountable. The night air pressed against them, thick with unspoken history. Naomi said, "Love is not a secret to hide behind, Marcus. It is a choice you failed to make every day." His silence fell heavy, his heart screaming what his lips could not. The silence on the balcony broke when Lena appeared suddenly, her expression urgent. She looked at Marcus with eyes sharp as glass. "Tell her the truth, Marcus, or I will." Naomi's chest tightened as she glanced between them, confusion turning quickly into dread. Marcus's jaw locked, his voice low. "This is not the time." Lena's words cut through him. "You've stolen 3 years of her life with lies." Naomi whispered, "What lies?" Her voice trembled as she clutched the railing for strength. Marcus finally said, "I wasn't away because of business. I was protecting you from debts that could have destroyed us both." Naomi's knees weakened at his confession, her heart spiraling. Naomi's voice cracked as she stepped closer to Marcus. "Debts? You vanished into silence, and this is your excuse." Marcus's chest heaved. "It wasn't an excuse. My father left me chains you never saw. Men came for me and I couldn't let them come for you." Naomi's hands trembled, her tears burning down her cheeks. "You punished me for sins I never committed," she said bitterly. Lena looked at her friend with sorrow. "He thought he was saving you, Naomi, but he buried you instead." Naomi's body quaked with rage. "You chose pride over honesty. You stole my right to fight beside you." Marcus's voice faltered, stripped of its armor. "If I told you, Naomi, they would have destroyed you to get to me." Naomi's fury burned hotter. "You destroyed me yourself," she spat, her words sharp enough to wound. Marcus looked at her, his eyes haunted. "I paid every price to shield you." Naomi stepped back, shaking her head. "No, you paid the price to keep control. You made choices for me I never agreed to." Lena whispered, "Truth can't come after 3 years of silence and expect forgiveness." Naomi's gaze was steady now, her pain crystallizing into strength. "You're not the man I married, Marcus. You're a stranger built of secrets." Naomi's voice softened into devastation. "Did you ever love me? Or was it always pity disguised as distance?" Marcus staggered under the weight of her words. "I loved you too much to let my sins touch you," he said, his voice breaking. Naomi shook her head slowly. "Love is not love when it cages and silences." Lena's hand brushed Naomi's shoulder, grounding her trembling frame. Marcus whispered, "Every night, I longed to return, but the shame kept me prisoner." Naomi's voice cracked but did not break. "And you made me your cellmate without choice." The storm outside mirrored the collapse of everything they thought unbreakable. Lightning split the sky as Naomi's voice rang like thunder. "You robbed me of truth, of choice, of us." Marcus stepped forward, his hand trembling near hers. "I only wanted to shield you." Naomi pulled away, her chin raised. "You call it protection. I call it betrayal." The word hung heavy between them, more powerful than the storm above. Lena whispered, "The wound is deeper than silence, Marcus. You may not recover what you lost." Naomi turned, her silhouette fierce against the storm-lit city. 3 years ago, you lost me. Tonight, you lose the illusion you ever had me." Marcus's breath collapsed into the night, his world breaking apart at her words. The storm's rage mirrored the chaos inside as Naomi faced Marcus in the living room, her voice like fire. "You don't get to rewrite history with confessions now." Marcus's voice cracked. "I loved you in silence because my demons clawed at me." Naomi stepped closer, trembling with fury. "You think your demons gave you the right to starve me of touch? Of truth? Of love?" His hands shook, reaching for her, but Naomi struck his chest with both fists, tears spilling. "You caged me, Marcus," she screamed. He gripped her wrists gently, desperate. "Naomi, I never stopped loving you." Her voice broke into a whisper. "You loved me like a ghost, never a man." Naomi pulled free, pacing the room as thunder rolled. 3 years, Marcus. Do you know how many nights I lay awake, begging the silence to end? Marcus followed, his voice rough. "Every night I longed for you, but I feared I'd destroy you." Naomi turned sharply, her voice like a blade. "You destroyed me by absence. You broke me with neglect." Marcus's eyes glistened, his pride cracking. I was ashamed of my weakness. Naomi's lips quivered as she spat. Love isn't built on pride. It's built on presence, and you were never there. The air pulsed with unbearable tension, every word cutting deeper. Naomi stopped suddenly, tears streaming, her body trembling. Do you know what it feels like to lie in a marriage bed untouched for years? Marcus's face crumpled, shame and longing colliding. I wanted you every night, Naomi, but guilt bound me. Her cry cut through the storm. Desire without action is torment. You made me question my worth, my womanhood, my very existence. Marcus dropped to his knees before her, voice breaking. I failed you, but I still love you. Naomi's breath hitched as she looked down, torn between rage and the ghost of her yearning. Naomi's voice quivered, equal parts pain and defiance. On your knees now, but where were you when I needed you most? Marcus's tears spilled, his hands gripping hers. I was drowning in shame, Naomi. You were my only light, and I turned away. Naomi shook her head violently. You let me burn in the dark, Marcus. You let me die a little every day. His voice rose, trembling. I am not asking forgiveness. I am begging for a chance to fight for you now. Naomi's heart thudded, the battle between love and betrayal roaring inside her. The storm outside reached its peak as Naomi pulled her hands free, her voice a final eruption. Love cannot be claimed after abandonment. You broke me, Marcus. His chest collapsed as though her words stripped him bare. Then let me rebuild what I shattered, he pleaded, his voice torn. Naomi's eyes glistened, her tears shimmering under the stormlight. You can't rebuild ashes. She turned, her back to him, her voice a whisper that thunder could not drown. I may still love you, Marcus, but I can no longer belong to you. His gasp echoed in the hollow silence, the final crack of a heart breaking. The storm outside had faded, but its echo lingered within the walls, as though the house itself remembered every cry, every silence. Naomi sat by the fireplace, her body heavy, her spirit slowly rising from the ashes. She whispered, 3 years, Marcus, 3 years of carrying us while you stood absent. The flames reflected in her eyes like unspoken fury, but her tone was not rage, it was weary truth. Marcus stood near the mantel, his broad frame bent as though guilt weighed on his spine. His voice trembled. I would give anything to rewrite what I've done. Naomi turned her head toward him, her tear-streaked face bathed in orange glow. You cannot rewrite the past, Marcus. You cannot erase what silence carved into me. Her hand pressed against her chest, grounding herself in the pain she carried. Marcus's throat ached with unspoken pleas, his breath uneven. Naomi whispered firmly, I am done carrying your ghosts. Now I carry only myself. Naomi rose from the sofa, her bare feet sinking slightly into the polished floor as she walked past Marcus. I stayed invisible for too long, waiting for a man who never returned, she said softly, her voice trembling but resolute. Marcus turned quickly, desperation etched into his features. Naomi, I can't lose you now. I have nothing left if you leave. Her body froze for a moment, but she didn't face him. You lost me long ago, Marcus, when you chose pride over presence. His hand lifted, fingers reaching into the empty air between them, as though grasping for a phantom of what they once were. Naomi placed her palm against the doorframe, her eyes shutting tight, steadying herself against memory and longing that clawed at her. His breath shook, his voice raw. Please, Naomi, let me try again, she whispered. You had 3 years to try. I will not give you a fourth. Lena appeared quietly in the doorway, her presence grounding the collapsing moment. Her eyes softened as she looked at Naomi, then hardened when they shifted to Marcus. Sometimes love isn't enough, Lena said firmly. Naomi's chin trembled, but she nodded through silent tears. I forgot who I was in his shadow, Lena. Now I must remember. Marcus stepped forward, his voice broken and hoarse. Don't leave me to my ghosts, Naomi. Lena's gaze pierced him like a blade. She isn't leaving you to ghosts, Marcus. She is leaving to save herself. Naomi wiped her cheeks with trembling hands, her breath steadying. 3 years of silence stole my voice. But tonight, I found it again. Marcus's body sagged as though struck, his pride stripped bare. Naomi's hand brushed Lena's arm gently, her whisper carrying finality. I cannot heal where I was broken. I must walk away to survive. Naomi turned from Marcus, her voice trembling yet unbreakable. I may still love you, Marcus, but I love myself more now. His voice cracked into a plea. Naomi, don't leave me with silence again. She stopped briefly, her back to him, her shoulders tense. Silence taught me to survive. Now it will teach you to face yourself. His knees buckled, and he collapsed onto the sofa, his head falling into his hands. I don't know how to live without you, he muttered into the hollow air. Naomi closed her eyes, the ache pulling at her chest, but her feet carried her forward. You should have thought of that when you made me live without you, she whispered to herself. Every step away was a severance from chains that had held her for too long. Naomi stepped onto the balcony once more. But now the storm had cleared, the air crisp with promise. She gripped the railing, her voice barely more than breath. I lost myself in silence, but tonight I found my voice. Her tears mingled with the cool breeze, as though the night itself cleansed her scars. Behind her, Marcus remained inside, his figure swallowed by shadow, no longer part of her horizon. She closed her eyes, inhaling deeply, her heart aching yet free. I choose me, she whispered, the words soft yet powerful. They were not just a farewell to Marcus, but a vow to herself. For the first time in years, she felt the weight lift from her chest, replaced by fragile light. Naomi lifted her chin, the city below glittering like it was bowing to her rebirth. Dawn painted the sky gold, light spilling across Naomi's face as she stood unmoving on the balcony. Her voice carried steady, but fragile. A new day doesn't erase 3 years of night. Marcus's voice trembled behind her. Naomi, if any love remains, let me fight for it. She turned slightly, her gaze cutting into him. You mistake my survival for forgiveness. He stepped closer, chest heaving. I will wait, a year, a lifetime. Naomi's voice cracked but remained firm. You had a lifetime, Marcus. You wasted it. His eyes shimmered, but Naomi's calm held stronger than his desperation. Naomi walked back into the living room, bare feet whispering across the floor. Lena waited, her eyes watching Naomi with quiet pride. You look lighter, Lena whispered. Naomi nodded faintly. Because I stopped begging for what should have been freely given. Marcus leaned against the glass doors, his body trembling, his tears reflecting morning light. His silence screamed louder than words. Lena's hand touched Naomi's arm gently. Strength is born not when someone saves you, Naomi, but when you save yourself. Naomi whispered, her voice low but fierce. Yes, tonight I chose me. Marcus slumped into his leather chair, his hands gripping his head. His voice cracked through the quiet. I never knew how empty love feels when it's unreturned. Naomi paused at the doorway, her body framed by the morning light. It wasn't unreturned, Marcus. It was wasted, she said, her voice calm but cutting. His eyes lifted toward her, full of desperation. She shook her head slowly. Love isn't lost in a night, Marcus. It dies every day you choose silence over truth. His body trembled, his lips parting without words. For the first time, he was left defenseless, stripped of excuses, crumbling under the truth she had carried for years. Naomi stepped closer into the study, her eyes steady with clarity. You taught me silence, Marcus, but I turned it into strength. He rose shakily, tears streaking his face. If you leave now, you take my soul with you, he pleaded, voice breaking. Naomi's chest heaved, but she held her ground. No, Marcus. I leave your soul with you. It's time you face it. His body sagged as if the words crushed him. Naomi's final tears fell, but her chin lifted higher. I am not your cage, and I am no longer your prisoner. His sobs filled the silence, echoing like thunder inside walls that once held their love. Naomi walked toward the front door, Lena by her side. Each step echoed like liberation, final and absolute. She whispered, 3 years of silence ended with my voice. The door opened, morning air brushing her skin with freedom. Behind her, Marcus collapsed to his knees, his cry muffled in the emptiness. Lena brushed Naomi's arm gently, her solidarity unspoken but firm. Naomi stepped outside into golden light, her heart heavy yet unchained. I choose me, she whispered, the vow both haunting and liberating. The door closed behind her with quiet finality, sealing Marcus in the silence he created, leaving Naomi reborn in the dawn.